message with the key.
Okay.
No matter if it's a parent, a sibling, or a friend, talking about loss with kids can be a tricky subject. Joining us now is author of Are You With Me?, Kouri Richins. And Kouri, I want to start with your story. What happened in your personal life?
So my husband passed away unexpectedly last year. He was 39. It completely took us all by shock. We have 3 little boys, 10, 9, and 6.
And it's only been a year. How did you go from processing death to I need to write a book and help others?
You know, I just watched the struggle that my kids were going through and trying to find something that we could use to cope at nights. Nights are the hardest, it seems like, for everybody when, you know, dealing with anything. But I just wanted some story to read to my kids at night.
I was reading it, and I remember I just was in tears, and I thought, like, this is perfect for your family. It just seemed perfect. And so I was just baffled at how she even had the time to do that.
And it's, you know, explaining to my kids just because he's not present here with us, that doesn't mean his presence isn't here with us, and he's doing these things with us.
Viewers at home, what they saw in that interview was this bereaved young woman who tragically lost her husband.
Like, Dad is still here, it's just in a different way.
But this would be just the beginning of the story, and boy, was there a lot more coming their way.
And we're clear. All right, good job, everyone. Let's get ready for headlines.
911, what's the address of the emergency? My husband's not breathing. He's cold. Okay, tell me exactly what happened. I don't know. I just came in. I was sleeping with my kids. Okay, I can't understand you. I need you to take a deep breath. What's going on?
It's a little after 3 in the morning, and Kouri Richins calls 911 saying her husband Eric is not breathing and is cold to the touch.
Okay, can you do CPR? No, I don't know how. You don't know? I'm gonna tell you how to. Are you willing to do CPR? Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Count out loud so I can hear you. I'm counting with you. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Officers are dispatched to the scene. Paramedics and firefighters are already there when they arrive.
In those first few moments of the police body-worn camera, you are watching this life or death moment unfold. Law enforcement is trying to make sense of it all. Inside the bedroom, you can see law enforcement trying to help Eric Richins. He is on his back on the ground. He has no pulse. He's not breathing. And they're using a CPR machine, so you can hear this sort of rhythmic sound.
Okay. What's your first name? Yeah, let me talk to you out here for a second. Let them do their work in there. So what happened today?
He was just fine. We were fine.
When you say we were fine, what time did you see him when he was alert?
We had a drink together at 9 to celebrate something at work.
Hours earlier, they were celebrating a big financial win for her real estate business.
She mentions they've had a cocktail before bed. She mentions that her son has night terrors and that she'd been asleep with him.
When I sleep with my kids, I'll wake up and I go back in my own bed.
Mm-hmm. Where are your children now?
One's asleep in that room, 2 are awake with their ear to the door. I go out, I'm gonna go out, please don't take them out.
Okay.
At one point, the officer asked if she would like to call anybody, and she mentioned she wants to call her mom.
Here, you can use my phone.
I got a call. It was Kouri. Said, Mom, you need to come up here.
Something's wrong with Eric. The police have girls are here. I don't know what's happening.
I said, something's happened. She said, Eric.
Does he have any medical conditions or anything like that?
He has Lyme's disease.
Lyme's disease?
But nothing major.
So they're asking questions like, does he have any, health ailments?
So no heart problems or anything like that?
So while she's talking to the officers, she says that sometimes he takes a gummy to sleep, but she also tells them she's not sure whether he took one that night.
It's like a gummy, as in like a THC gummy? Okay. Does he have any history of illicit drug use or anything in the past year? No, never.
As I pull in the driveway, 3 cops come running at me, asking who I am. I went running through the house to get to Kouri, and it was just devastating. She was in total shock. I had no idea, not only as a mother, what to do for her, but as a person, how to help a person in shock.
Oh my God.
I went and talked to the boys, and they're just confused. They're not crying because they don't know what's going on. They just know a lot of cops are there.
Kouri Richins' mother, Lisa Darden, says that he got weekly allergy shots, and maybe that has something to do with his medical condition.
He didn't look good last night.
He looked pale last night, and I asked if you were okay, and he said yeah, but he was saying his chest was hurting.
I had seen him that day, and I said, oh my God, what is wrong with you? You look horrible.
For a moment, the deputy walks away from Kouri Richins, and you can see a conversation between him, another officer, and an EMT.
I wonder if he had an aneurysm or something with all the blood. There's a lot of blood for some unknown reason. A little bit coming out as soon as we start doing compressions when the blood came out. So,
Okay. All right.
I don't know.
The amount of blood was sort of surprising to the paramedic, and this leads to the initial hypothesis of an aneurysm.
My husband's active. He didn't just die in his sleep. This is insane.
Eric was very athletic. You would never expect an aneurysm, but that's what they're telling us. They don't know, they're saying an aneurysm, and you just can't believe he's gone.
In the body cam footage, you actually hear Eric's sister, Katie, before you see her. She's moaning and she's screaming out, and it's the raw guttural pain that you hear when you've just learned that someone you love has died.
In the video, you see Katie take Kouri and Eric's young boys upstairs and away from the turmoil.
But at one point, Katie even can hardly breathe.
It's natural, okay? Just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath.
Okay. I gotta breathe. Oh my God, I gotta breathe. I just talked to him like a couple hours ago.
At 3:58 a.m., Eric Richins is officially declared dead, but it's also noted that he appears to have been dead for quite some time before they arrived at the residence.
The next thing is our detective and our medical examiners are going to respond to the location. They're going to do their investigation and document everything. And then most likely, because of his age, his health and everything else, most likely.
The county coroner's office has an obligation, a legal requirement really, to investigate forensically any unexpected death. Whenever you have a young man like this who dies mysteriously, you can bet they're going to do an autopsy.
This is the night of a tragic end, but the beginning of a mystery that will take years to unravel.
The night that Eric died, Kouri says that they were celebrating. They were celebrating what was going to be her most ambitious purchase yet for her real estate business. A distressed mansion in Midway, Utah that she hoped to buy for millions, flip it, and sell it for millions more.
She was so excited about it and the possibilities for it.
This was a very big moment for Kouri Richins. Kouri grew up working for her aunt's cleaning company, cleaning the toilets of the rich people who lived in mansions in Park City. Kouri would dream that one day she would be the one that owned the mansions and not the one cleaning the toilets. This was Kouri's moment to say, look, I did it. I made something of myself, and now I'm on the other side. Kouri grew up in a family that moved a lot.
My parents worked construction, so we would move every 2-3 months growing up. We weren't poor by any stretch, but we weren't wealthy by any stretch either. My parents did what they had to do to get by.
When she got to junior high, her family really made a home in Heber City, Utah. It's also part of Summit County. It's a beautiful mountain town. And there she finds a really close group of girlfriends.
We just had a really good core group of friends. And I mean, the text we'd get every weekend was, hey, where's the party at? And then we also played sports. And then we were in the same classes together. And we just kind of evolved from there.
She's on the cheer team. In high school, she's playing tennis. And she seems to have really found a home and belonging.
She was a tough cookie. Anybody said anything wrong about us, you could, kind of always count on Kouri to handle it.
Kouri and Eric met when Kouri was working at a Home Depot.
Home Depot paid the best. It was brand new, it was in Park City, and it paid really well for cashiers.
He was coming into the Home Depot a lot because of his stonemasonry business, and they hit it off and started talking, and people remember, sparks flying and instant chemistry.
He was significantly older than her.
She just thought the world of Eric. Eric was it.
Eric grew up in Bountiful, Utah. Went to high school at Woods Cross. The Richins owned a cattle ranch in Summit County. And he grew up working on this ranch. His sisters rode horses, they had animals, they were outdoorsmen.
Eric was one of 3 children with 2 sisters, Amy and Katie, and he was very close to his mother who had died in 2018.
Eric grew up a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the Mormon Church. His dad shares that it was one of the most important things that they wanted to instill in their children was faith and religion. So much so that Eric went on a 2-year mission for the church to Mexico City and then came back and started his stonemasonry business.
Eric was a very dynamic individual.
He worked hard, but he also played hard. He had ATVs, he camped, he explored.
Eric was a big-time hunter, go to Africa, big trophy hunting stuff.
They began dating. Kouri became pregnant with their first child, and they married soon after.
The marriage is a backyard ceremony. Family and friends gather. Kouri is about to walk down the aisle, and Eric's mother present her with a prenup. And the prenup says that his stonemasonry business belongs to him, and that the only way that she would benefit from that business would be if he were to die while they are married.
Kouri was pretty distraught over it, but ultimately she signed it. She loved Eric, she wanted to marry Eric, so she went along to get along, I guess.
I don't think it's a secret that Eric's family, or at least parts of Eric's family, didn't approve of Kouri.
It was a rough start at the beginning, and once that got passed, I mean, they had a good wedding.
Kouri and Eric ended up having 3 boys in 4 years.
She planned that. She was a planner, and that was her plan. Kouri was everything you'd probably want as a mom.
She loved her boys. Her boys are her world. And when she wasn't working, she was with her kids.
From Boy Scout leader to soccer to you name it, she's involved in everything.
Eric really, he was a dedicated dad.
He was a soccer coach for the boys.
My last memory of Eric was me in their living room playing soccer with his son, you know, and Eric was sitting in his chair, like sitting back like this, giggling, while his son kicked my ass in soccer, you know, and he was really proud of it.
Eric's business has become incredibly successful. It's $1 million business, C&E Masonry.
And they have a very affluent life. They're taking trips together.
My first cruise was with them.
They would go out to fancy restaurants. Yeah, they had money to spend.
At the beginning of all, Kouri stayed home with the children, but at some point, Kouri wanted more, and she started a real estate business.
In 2019, Kouri starts Kouri Richins Realty, which is her home flipping business. That first year, Kouri buys and resells a property to a family that says they found their dream home.
Guess who's homeowners? Me, and him, and me, and him, and me. We just bought a house!
Just 2 years later, Kouri is managing 15 renovation projects.
Kouri's making a very good living.
It's expanding quickly. She's buying a lot of properties, and by all accounts, it is very successful. This looks like the all-American perfect family. A beautiful home, a beautiful family, beautiful children, and 2 thriving businesses.
What's your first name? Yeah, let me talk to you.
Nobody ever thought Eric was gonna die.
Of course, Eric Richins, a dedicated father, has provided for his children. But this grieving widow is about to discover her future won't be quite what she thought.
Eric's sister, Amy, says this home isn't yours.
They're screaming back and forth. I stepped in between the two of them.
I learned the news about Eric passing on March 4th through a phone call. Why? What happened? What could have caused it? It was just surreal.
And just the day before, Kouri says that she and Eric were toasting the purchase of her dream property, a $2.9 million mansion. And just hours later, Eric would be dead.
Eric is beloved in the community, and many people come and gather at the family home to sort of celebrate his life.
There were just constant people coming in and out of the house, paying their condolences. We were just, you know, reminiscing about Eric.
We were all just there to support Kouri, keep the boys occupied, keep their minds sort of off of, you know, what happened.
We were literally talking about Eric the entire night and reason, dancing and listening to his favorite songs. One of our friends is shotgunning a beer.
Richard?
Richard?
Richard, yep.
And it's not the way everybody else may celebrate, but that's how we did it, because that's what Eric would have done with us.
At one point, you know, they're playing music and Cody Johnson's till
you know, and to know that we just lost somebody so suddenly, it put things in perspective.
Yeah, you got a chance, take it.
Kouri's dancing with her 3 sons, and Eric's sister Amy films the dance.
And there was this light that kind of projected around them, and she's like, I swear Eric's dancing with them right now. Like, it was special.
And it's this real moment of sort of solidarity between the 2 families.
But that solidarity appears to be short-lived.
The morning after that gathering, there is a dispute, an argument between Kouri and Eric's sister, Amy. Kouri realizes that Eric's will is in a safe.
She seemed a little adamant about getting that will, and she was pretty positive that it was in the safe, but she didn't know what the combination was.
Eric Richins' sister, Amy, is at the house, and a locksmith shows up to access the safe.
You just hear like this blood-curdling scream as I ran out into the garage. And Amy had seen a sign on a truck that said locksmith or something. She flipped out and told Kouri, you know, you're not supposed to be getting into the safe.
And then Amy drops a bomb. She tells Kouri that Eric had secretly set up his trust and will and Kouri was largely cut out.
They're screaming back and forth. I stepped in between the two of them. Eventually, the police showed up.
In the midst of all of this, Kouri wants to fact check what's going on, and they call the estate planner. So the estate planner ends up confirming to Kouri that right around 2020, Eric had created an estate and that his sister, Katie, was in charge of that and the executor.
He makes his sons the beneficiary of the trust. He puts the house in the trust.
And that's when those words of "it's not your home" came out. And Kouri's like, "It is my house. I've lived here for 10 years. You know, what are you talking about?"
Amy told authorities that Kouri punched her in the face and the neck. Kouri is then arrested and charged with assault.
She ends up pleading no contest, but she is found guilty of assault.
To think this is happening 2 days after Eric's death, and then these two families have to see each other again at Eric's funeral?
The funeral itself, I think, went off very well, but you could already see the animosity between the two families. It's contentious.
Oh, the funeral was incredibly uncomfortable. Kouri stood in one, and then his family stood in like another area. Yeah, it was a very obvious divide immediately, and they wouldn't talk to each other.
There really wasn't much reference to Kouri. There wasn't a lot of love going on.
It was over-the-top, lavish casket. It was like a horse and buggy. It was grand. It was very country. It was just the most uncomfortable funeral I've ever been at. His 40th birthday was just a couple weeks after the funeral. Like, his clothes had already been taken down, and she wasn't wearing her wedding ring, and I thought that was a little odd. I mean, it wasn't even a month.
As the months passed, Kouri filed a civil lawsuit against Eric's sister, Katie, disputing the trust.
And Kouri seems to continue to adjust to life as a single mother and a businesswoman.
Kouri talks a lot about how important routine is to getting through the process of grief. And so, you know, usually at nighttime, this is when you read to your children, and she was saying that they looked for something to read that would answer some of these questions, and she found nothing.
She said, "I have looked everywhere, and I can't find a book on grieving for children." She said, "I wonder if I could write one."
Kouri Richins self-published a book called Are You With Me?
The first part of the book is actually written from the child's perspective, the little boy who's wondering if his dad is with him.
Kouri actually used a ghostwriter in order to create this book.
Are you at my soccer game when I scored that goal for you? I looked for you in the crowd, but you weren't there. Did you see it?
And then later on in the book, it switches to the deceased father's perspective, and he sort of starts saying, "Yes, I am with you."
I am with you when you scored that goal for me. You couldn't hear me cheer for you, but I yelled and clapped as loud as I could, just like always.
Kouri dedicates the book to my amazing husband and a wonderful father. And then there is a drawing of the family of 5. You see Kouri and Eric together with their 3 children and the dog.
I will forever love you, my sweet baby, until we see each other again. Yes, I am with you.
In March 2023, Kouri Richins goes on these local radio and TV stations talking about the book.
Start your move 2.
Hey, good morning.
On you
Happy
too.
Friday, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.
We got an email, wrote into the station. It was Kouri saying that she had just written what she believed to be was the first book for kids about coping with grief, and that she would love the chance to share that on Good Things Utah.
My kids and I kind of wrote this book on the different emotions and grieving processes that we've experienced last year.
And to make sense and process, I'm sure.
Yes, exactly.
What a shock this must be for this poor woman. My heart went out to her.
I'm new to all of this, so kind of doing research and reading books and things to try and understand, not only how to grieve as a widow, as a wife, but also, with my kids, how to help them understand what just happened.
But the big shock happened a couple of days later when we get an anonymous email. And there's just one line, and it's in all capital letters with many exclamation marks at the end, and it says, she killed her husband.
While Kouri has moved on with her life and is promoting her children's book about coping with grief, authorities have been digging into the circumstances surrounding Eric's death.
Were you first on scene?
We were second.
And there was blood before they got...
A little bit coming out as soon as we start doing compressions.
Originally, it was one of the EMTs on scene who suggests that maybe Eric had an aneurysm.
I wonder if he had an aneurysm or something with all the blood.
And I think that made a lot of sense to the family on scene right then, because what else would it be that would make a healthy 39-year-old man all of a sudden stop breathing in the middle of the night?
So law enforcement says that there will be an autopsy. They think it might have been an aneurysm, but they don't know.
For the people that knew Eric, the autopsy was absolutely shocking.
The initial autopsy report comes back, and it's drug intoxication fentanyl as the cause of death.
5 times the amount of fentanyl that could kill anyone.
Eric did not do drugs, not to my understanding, you know, and Kouri was saying the same thing, so it was just baffling.
They also found that it was not medical grade fentanyl. So this is nothing that was prescribed by a doctor.
This would have been, you know, drugs off the street, the type of drugs that you would procure on a corner and don't necessarily know the origins of.
The autopsy report jumpstarts a criminal investigation because this is not a natural death. This is either an accidental overdose or someone killed Eric.
Now police officers realize they have to find the origin of the drug.
Police get a search warrant to search the Richins' home for illegal drugs.
Investigators go in, they seize Kouri's electronics, Eric's electronics, and they search the house for anything that could possibly have traces of fentanyl.
But they don't find any fentanyl.
During this search, Kouri is stopped by then lead detective Jamie Woody, and at that moment, Kouri says what everybody else is saying, that Eric doesn't do drugs, that she's shocked by the cause of death.
Kouri Richins talks to the chief medical examiner and essentially has a bunch of questions, and she goes down a list of the various items that were found in the stomach contents.
The third one, the acetyl, I don't know how you say that.
Acetylfentanyl.
Oh.
Yeah, that's just a variant of fentanyl that is usually only present in the setting of illicitly manufactured fentanyl.
Illicit manufactured, like a pharmacy?
No, like fentanyl that's manufactured by drug cartels as opposed to by pharmaceutical companies.
Oh, good Lord.
It's pretty clear she's kind of reading from the report and asking individual questions about each part.
I was just trying to figure out, you know, if we found out anything new.
Definitely, you know, death from fentanyl intoxication, and we still don't know how he got it into him.
Yeah, and I mean, is that anything you could ever find out?
When the toxicology report comes back, Eric's family comes forward to law enforcement and says, well, we have some concerns about the toxicology report. Eric didn't do drugs.
The Richins family was immediately suspicious that Kouri had a role in Eric's death.
According to Eric's family, while it seemed like Kouri and Eric were flying high, when he died, it was a very different reality.
Eric discovered actually in 2020 that Kouri had taken out a loan to help her business and did so without telling him.
Kouri had taken out a $250,000 line of credit against the home, which Eric solely owned and had no idea about.
That made them all start to be very concerned with Kouri's financial situation, and that is actually what caused him to change the trust, because he wanted to make sure his children were taken care of.
The family says that when Eric finds out, he visits a divorce attorney. I think it's like, how can you deceive your spouse like that? When you own a home, the idea that you're going to take out a line of credit, that they're never gonna realize this, and you're somehow gonna go out and spend $250,000 and they're just never gonna get that that's what was going on behind the scenes, it's pretty shocking.
They end up going to counseling and they do not separate. But there is this idea You know, she's lied about their finances. Even if there's the facade of things being good within the marriage, there's still a real permanent rift between the couple, and the trust has been broken there.
But as it turns out, allegations of financial crimes are not the only evidence investigators are uncovering.
A year after Eric's death, Kouri's finances are not looking good at all. She thought she was going to be getting an inheritance, and now the weight of her debt is bearing down on her.
She's in a lot of trouble here. She owes a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars.
It was hard for her that year, financially and emotionally. Her kids, you know, were crying at night because their dad is gone. And she has Eric's family who are blaming her for his death.
Emotionally, she kind of seemed like she's hanging on by a thread. Kouri was also trying to run this business that she was doing, and she just seemed really stressed out.
One of Kouri's biggest financial burdens was this mansion she had purchased.
A luxurious piece of property on the most beautiful land.
She buys it for close to $3 million. But at this point, the mansion is far from finished.
Kouri Richins commissioned this YouTube video of the house construction. It even included a virtual view of the planned luxe amenities.
Kouri had talked about turning the Midway Mansion into an event space where people could have weddings. It needed a lot of work, estimated to be a couple million.
Kouri is allegedly making all of this work through hard money loans. And these are loans that are short term, they cost more, they tend to be riskier.
But Kouri didn't have money from Eric's estate to help, and eventually lost the mansion to foreclosure.
The fallout from Kouri's financial strain allegedly ends up harming one of her best friends, a woman named Chelsea Barney.
Kouri's been helping her best friend buy a home, her first home. So she says, look, I'll get the loan, you'll sign the deed, the home will be yours, and you can pay the mortgage each month. She was a waitress and a manager at a restaurant, and she had saved all of her tip money for years.
She gave Kouri $45,000 as a down payment.
She was always on time with her payment. And so when all of a sudden she was getting notices that her home might be in trouble, she called and asked for a copy of the deed.
Essentially, Chelsea had found out that the deed was never properly filed with the county.
She never was the owner of the home.
The house is foreclosed on, Chelsea and her family are evicted, and to add insult to injury, all this money she saved up to buy this home, it's gone.
And there's another family who also say their dealings with Kouri did not end well.
We just bought a house!
Taryn and Alec Wright buy this home for their family. It's been remodeled, there's a view of the mountains, it has a great yard.
But once they were in that home, they discovered a major problem.
They claim they find mold in the walls, and they say there was water coming in and that everyone in the family got sick. Nosebleeds, asthma, really unpleasant stuff.
Kouri denied that she had any knowledge of any problems with the home and that the home had been inspected prior to their closing on it.
The Wrights filed a lawsuit and told 2020 they lost their house to foreclosure, saying they've been financially ruined by the cost of a long-term temporary rental while still paying for that home.
Meanwhile, there are people who are starting to say out loud what only a few knew, that Eric had gotten ill in the past and he suspected Kouri was behind it.
Eric and Kouri were on a trip to Greece in 2019.
They were out having dinner one night and everyone was ordering drinks. Eric had just recently got Lyme's disease from a hunting trip. He's taking medication for it. On that medication, you're not allowed to have alcohol. It will make you very, very sick. Eric ordered a virgin drink. When they brought it over, He tasted it and said that he thought that there was alcohol in it. He started not feeling well and they ran up to the hotel room.
He called his sister Katie and told her that he thought that Kouri had tried to poison him.
I don't believe Eric said that. I don't believe he ever said that. They were in a restaurant when he got sick, so the only one serving him was a waitress.
Then actually on Valentine's Day of 2022, so only weeks before his death, Kouri had ordered a sandwich from a local diner.
The server answered the phone and a to-go order was placed, a Bald Mountain Bagel sandwich, which is just a toasted bagel with bacon, egg, and cheese, avocado, and sliced tomato. And 12 minutes later, Kouri came in and picked it up and paid for it.
When she left the sandwich for him, she left a note, basically just saying, "Happy Valentine's Day, I love you."
After just a single bite, Eric seemed to believe he was having an allergic reaction. He used his son's EpiPen, took some Benadryl, and went to sleep. And when he woke up, he texted friends, "You almost lost me this time. I think she might have poisoned me."
And police are about to learn just where that poison could be coming from.
Speed.
Kouri came to me about a year after she said her husband had died. All she had said was that he passed away and she was ready for some new family photos. So she wanted to get her hair done to look cute in the pictures with her sons. I was really impressed with how she was handling that situation with her little boys and how much she was doing with her life. Kouri spent 5 or 6 hours in my chair. We did a full color on her and then we did her extension install after that. I think she ended up spending around $2,900.
It's been a year since Eric Richins' death, and Kouri is moving on with life. But Eric's family, however, is frustrated. They say they're not seeing progress in the investigation, and they're dealing with the back and forth lawsuits over the estate. So they decide to hire a private investigator.
This PI pulls phone records, looks at thousands of text messages, pulls electronics, gets cell phone data.
So when the private investigator gets into these phone records, he discovers that there are essentially 3 people that Kouri is communicating with all the time. One is Eric, the other is her mother, and the third person is a woman named Carmen Lauber.
This is between the months right before and right after Eric Richins dies. So why is Kouri talking to Carmen Lauber so much?
Carmen worked for my sister cleaning houses and cleaning the fix and flips. And Kouri would call her and say, "Hey, I need you to go to this address, clean this house."
This woman has a checkered past, including a whole bunch of drug stuff.
With the information that the private investigators gathered, he's forwarding all of that to the Summit County Sheriff's Office.
A new lead detective is put on the case, Detective Jeff O'Driscoll, and his theory is to start over, start fresh.
Carmen is in a court-ordered drug program, and Detective O'Driscoll takes the opportunity to search her trash. He finds drug paraphernalia, and that's a violation. Now he's got probable cause to search her home. Not only do they find enough evidence to bring drug charges, they find a gun, and she's not allowed to have one since she's a convicted felon. And they notice something that stops them in their tracks. They're looking at a wall full of inspirational sayings that she's posted, and they see, taped to a mirror, a copy of Eric's obituary.
At this point, they've really zeroed in on Kouri as being, the prime suspect to Eric's passing, and they need somebody to kind of connect those dots. Without Carmen, police really didn't have much of a case.
So can Carmen tell them if Kouri had any connection to the fentanyl?
Write down something as far as you remember it right now, and then we can work on the details as we continue to talk about it, as we check phone records, as we, do all our our side to corroborate what you're saying, right?
Okay, now everything I just told you, I probably won't remember what order I told you in.
It's okay, and that's fine, because you know what? We want to make sure we get the right story. And so the way you're remembering it is, is all you can give us. You can't make something up that you don't remember, right?
Right.
She tells police that not only has Kouri asked her to get fentanyl, but she did so on 2 separate occasions, and she even said things like, the first batch wasn't strong enough.
The thought was insinuated that she wanted you to get something that somebody could die from.
I know one thing, that when we got one, it wasn't dark enough. I don't even know how fentanyl really goes.
Carmen explained she got 1 set of drugs sometime in February, and then was asked to get stronger stuff, and then got another dose of drugs a second time around.
So Carmen's facing prosecution and years of prison time.
The only exception to that, and the only thing that they're willing to kind of help you out with, is if you can help us out with this.
And by so, he means like, give us the details that will ensure Kouri gets convicted of murder.
Oh my God.
This is a serious case, Carmen. I'm not
that
trying
is way more of my,
I know.
You got Carmen, who's looking at 25 years to life for drug charges and gun charges. She's going to tell the cops whatever they want to hear. And they're making a plea deal.
The goal is to convict Kouri for an aggravated murder. These parallel drug investigations, those aren't a priority.
Carmen says her dealer was Robert Crozier. He's already in custody for other drug crimes, and he's also detoxing. He says that he and Carmen would meet at a gas station where he would sell her the drugs. Carmen says she would hide the drugs at one of the houses Kouri was trying to flip. Crozier says it wasn't a regular thing.
Yeah, I met her just 2 times. I think I talked to her a couple more times after, but just to see, you know what I mean? Hey, because somebody's spending, you know what I mean? $500-600
Is that what 30 would run about $500 or $600?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
It's not just the drug sales themselves, it's the timing.
There were 30 text messages exchanged between Carmen and Kouri on Valentine's Day 2022, the day of that infamous sandwich.
And the other date is February 26, which is right before Eric's death.
Now law enforcement has the drug link through Carmen, and they have the financial information.
Kouri Richins was in massive debt. She was trying to funnel money back into her own real estate and house flipping business.
You add this all up, and it's finally enough for police to make their move.
A woman who wrote a children's book about grief after the death of her husband now faces charges for his murder.
Kouri Richins is charged with 1 count of aggravated murder and 3 counts of possession of narcotics with intention to distribute.
I woke up in the morning to headlines of Utah mom and children's grief book author arrested and charged with murder.
It was shocking. It was unbelievable.
I just couldn't fathom it. Like, not Kouri. Why her? Like, it just became this huge story because she wrote that children's book.
They are trying to ruin and convict an innocent mother.
The simplest answer is often the correct one. It was most likely an accidental overdose.
I will take it to my grave that Kouri did not do this. I too believe it's an accidental overdose.
For Kouri Richins, she's either victim or killer. There is nothing in between. Is she a widow who had lost her husband and the father of her children tragically, or did she plan this all out to get from under some massive debt?
In my experience, money and love are 2 of the most powerful motivators for a murder. Now, police know about the money, and there may be a romantic angle as well. If Kouri wasn't with Eric on Valentine's Day, and she wasn't, who was she with?
My kids and I kind of wrote this book on the different
emotions and grieving processes that we've experienced last year.
And to make sense and process, I'm
Yes.
sure.
Right now, we have the arrest of a Utah mom who wrote a children's book about grief after her husband's death. She has now been charged with killing him.
I'm new to all of this as a widow, as a wife, but also, you know, with my kids.
I'm thinking she's just powering through. She's trying her best, maybe not to cry, maybe not to get too emotional. Toxicology report found 5 times a lethal dosage of fentanyl in his system.
This last page, particularly poignant. I will forever love you, my sweet baby, until we see each other again. Yes, I am with you.
Written as though it's in the father's words for their boys.
You are an amazing woman, and we thank you for being vulnerable and sharing this and touching the lives of others.
Thank you. I really appreciate being here. So,
thank you, Kouri.
guys.
Thank you. All right, GTU is back with more.
State prosecutors say they do have enough evidence against Kouri Richins to proceed with a trial.
The imminent charge of murder, allegedly at this point, but still, naturally, you're thinking, can I believe what she said?
On May 8th, 2023, Kouri is arrested and charged with the aggravated murder of her husband, as well as several counts of possession of illicit drugs with the intent to distribute.
Finding that out was such a shock. I mean, talking about this now, it still blows my mind.
This could all very well be the perfect crime. A storybook ending where she thought she couldn't get caught.
It's a story that resonates because it's sort of this idea that she is two very different people, a Jekyll and Hyde situation. She was so empathetic at first glance, and then the story becomes much more sinister.
In a June 2023 hearing where Kouri's going to find out if she makes bail or not, she appears in street clothes, but she is in shackles. And she has this look of confidence on her face, almost as if she thinks this is still going to go her way.
Prosecutors call 3 witnesses to testify as to why Kouri Richins should not be released pending prosecution.
And the defendant came to the door and wrote a check from her business for $1,300 for the purchase of the fentanyl.
The initial bail hearing had a forensic accountant going into her finances. It went over the phone records and some of her searches on her phone after her husband's death.
During the bail hearing, the cell phone expert presented evidence that prosecutors said was a sign of consciousness of guilt.
Consciousness of guilt can be virtually anything that a criminal defendant does that is consistent with them understanding that they're guilty. Some of the more interesting internet searches included luxury prisons for the rich in America, can cops uncover deleted messages, iPhone, if someone is poisoned, what does it go down on the death certificate as? And finally, what is a lethal dose of fentanyl?
Those internet searches did not come until after Kouri had been given a search warrant that was executed on her home. That search warrant laid out that they believed that Eric had died from a lethal dose of fentanyl, that she had murdered him with it. And so, you know, to now say, well, she searched it, so it's the consciousness of guilt, I think it's human nature. Someone hands you something and says, hey, we think you poisoned them with fentanyl, and you're like, I don't even know what a lethal dose of fentanyl is. What do? We Google search.
Prosecutors argue that the motivation behind Eric Richins' death is that Kouri Richins was in massive debt.
Being bad with money does not make you a murderer.
The defense makes the argument that the prosecution has no case because they have no way of showing how the drugs ultimately got into Eric's system.
They went through the home and they found absolutely no forensic evidence to substantiate their allegation that she must have given Eric fentanyl in this drink.
But perhaps the most compelling argument was made by Eric's sister, Amy Richins, during her victim's impact statement.
Eric was a family man who always strove to be the absolute best father and husband. I go through the terrible sequence of events I wonder when he realized he was in mortal danger. This last year has been a living hell for our family. We have watched as Kouri has paraded around portraying herself as a grieving widow and victim while trying to profit from the death of my brother.
But the circumstances of this case weigh soundly against granting pretrial release of any kind.
Since Kouri was arrested, she's been held in the Summit County Jail. Kouri not only has been separated from her children, at this point she lost custody of her children.
The state of Utah takes her kids away, even though she's presumed innocent, because Utah has a law that allows the court to do that when one spouse is suspected of causing the death of the other spouse.
And it's while she's in jail that authorities make what appears to be a stunning discovery.
Deputies did what's called tossing her cell, where they go in, they essentially perform a search, and they found a letter that the prosecution believed to be very, very significant in the case.
Since her arrest, Kouri Richins, the aspiring writer, is being held in Utah Summit County Jail, and she's at it again.
During a sweep of Kouri's cell, an officer uncovers a 4-page letter. At the top of the first page, it says, "Walk the dog," with an exclamation point. And prosecutors argue that this letter is a message for Kouri's mother to relay to her brother Ronnie what he needs to say to help get her off.
It reads in part, "Here's what I'm thinking, but you have to talk to Ronnie. He would probably have to testify to this. Eric told Ronnie he gets pain pills and fentanyl from Mexico from the workers at the ranch. Reword this however he needs to make the point with Mexico and drugs."
Prosecutors say this is evidence of witness tampering, of influencing a person's testimony that could potentially take the stand in her case, and providing a story that is alternative to how Eric had gone to Mexico and possibly obtained drugs while there.
Of course, that's hugely significant from the perspective of detectives and the prosecution.
I mean, she just explained to me that it was some fairy tale book that was loosely based on what's going on, but there's a whole bunch of stuff in there that makes it very obvious that it's not true.
Kouri has always maintained that the Walk the Dog letter was part of a greater manuscript. Not only was it attorney-client communication, it was also attorney work product. Is this damaging? Does she admit that she committed murder in it? Absolutely not.
So the question becomes whether a jury will see this, as Kouri insists, as a fictional manuscript, or further evidence of her guilt.
First with the death of her husband and this children's book, Are You With Me? And now with this 4-page letter, you see Kouri writing herself into the plot. It is Kouri's own written word that prosecutors keep coming back to as evidence that she is, in fact, at the center of this.
The Camas mom, accused of killing her husband and then writing a children's book about grief, is facing more criminal charges.
So in March 2024, the prosecution amended their complaint to include an allegation of attempted murder.
This is the attempted murder charge for the poisoned Valentine's Day sandwich that Eric ate just weeks before his death.
Eric supposedly saying that he thinks his wife is trying to poison him it's absolutely absurd.
And the heat is about to be turned up even higher on Kouri. With all the media coverage on her case, someone was watching. And that someone reached out to Eric Richins' family, wanting to clear a guilty conscience.
That someone is 41-year-old Josh Grossman, who Kouri had hired as a handyman at a home that she was renovating.
Authorities learned that Grossman and Kouri had been carrying on a years-long affair. According to investigators, the lovers texted almost daily.
"I want you today, every day, not just sexually, but physically, mentally, every day. When I wake up, I do want a future together."
So in addition to the financial motive here, we also have a totally separate motive, and that is she's having an affair where she's repeatedly communicating with this man, talking about how much she wants to be with him and how much she loves him.
Among the frequent text exchanges, in February of 2022, Kouri wrote, "If he could just go away and you could just be here, life would be so perfect. I love you."
You know, I'll acknowledge the timing of the texts are not ideal. You know, is this evidence of murder? No. But is it one of those things that may weigh in the back of a juror's mind when they're thinking about how to weigh all this other evidence? I think that absolutely becomes the case.
We're following breaking news out of Summit County for you. The judge granted a request from the defense team to withdraw from her case.
Suddenly, defense attorney Sky Lazaro withdraws from the case, citing a conflict of interest involving her law firm.
And this preliminary hearing is a critical right that every single...
Replacing Lazaro is public defender Kathy Nestor and co-counsel Wendy Lewis. Together, the defense attorneys have more than 30 years of experience.
Whenever legal counsel changes in a case, this will heavily stall any sort of outcome because now a new attorney has to come on, build a rapport with Kouri, and learn the case inside out.
In May 2024, just days after her new lawyers are appointed, Kouri makes her first public statement in an audio recording released to ABC News.
The world has yet to hear who I really am, what I've really done, or what I really didn't do. What I've really done is protect Eric at all costs. What I really didn't do is murder my husband. I could not and would not ever do that to Eric, or anyone for that matter. I'm asking the world to give me a chance.
And Kouri Richins will have that chance in court. While the narcotics charges were dropped, she has pleaded not guilty to the remaining charges, including 2 counts of insurance fraud. One of those charges alleges that Kouri took out a life insurance policy on Eric without his knowledge.
When you throw in a financial motive, that's big, that's huge. That she needed Eric Richins dead, that financial motive is massive. It's big. But then you throw in an affair, you throw in a love story. Now you're talking multiple motives.
The state first has to prove that he was murdered. You know, that's step one. And they've got to be able, if I'm the jury, I mean, I want to know how. You know, you can't just say he died, she was there, it must have been her, you know, because she had an affair. They're going to have a hard time connecting those dots.
All eyes on Utah this morning as the Kouri Richins murder trial begins.
The murder trial of Kouri Richins is now underway.
Nearly 3 years after her arrest, Kouri Richins is in court right now for day 1 of that trial.
We'll be inside of that courtroom all week, bringing you the latest.
I knew that this trial would be big. I didn't know it was going to be this big.
This story, just in a quiet community that doesn't have things like this happening, is obviously a pretty big deal.
This is a small courthouse, sort of off the beaten path in the beautiful mountains of Utah, near Park City, Utah.
Most people expect that there will be 12 people on a jury, but in this case, there were 8 jury members, 6 men, 2 women.
My name is Laura, and I was the jury foreperson in the Kouri Richins murder trial. Before being selected as a juror, I had heard or read just a couple headlines, but I never really looked at stories. I really knew nothing about the case.
Kouri looks nervous. She's worried. She doesn't have that same confidence she did a few years ago.
While the situation appears tough for Kouri, she still has her supporters.
I'll be in the courtroom right there with her family, supporting her every second, every minute, every day, as long as it takes. She will beat this. Mark my words.
All right, we'll now proceed with opening statements.
The prosecutor, Brad Bloodworth, is very direct. He gets right to business.
In opening statements, the prosecutor had a laundry list of motives as to why Kouri would have killed her husband.
The evidence will prove that on the day that Eric died, Kouri Richins owed over $4.5 million to over 20 different lenders, that Kouri Richins was chronically unhappy in her marriage, that Kouri Richins murdered Eric for his money and to get a fresh start at life.
On the defense side, they start with someone else's voice, Kouri's voice, the 911 call she made the night Eric died.
911, I just need the emergency. My husband's not breathing. He's cold. And he's not breathing?
Those were the sounds of a wife becoming a widow.
The defense urged the jurors to focus on the 6 hours leading up to Eric's death and not 6 years prior.
So those 6 hours, somewhere in that time, Eric Richins died. Somewhere in that time, he ingested a fatal dose of fentanyl. What you're never going to hear is how that fentanyl got inside of him, because there is zero evidence of that.
The witnesses that the state started with were powerful.
Your Honor, the state calls Kouri Richins Benson.
They called Eric's sister, Katie, to the stand.
That you received a phone call about Eric.
Yes, it was early in the morning.
Who called you?
My dad did.
What did he say?
It's not easy. He was screaming and crying and said, Eric's not breathing, Eric's not breathing. Sorry, guys. This was the worst day of my life. I'm sorry.
The state needs to convince the jury that Kouri purchased that lethal dose of fentanyl with the intention to kill.
When Carmen takes the stand, all eyes are on her. She makes or breaks this case for the state.
Please proceed.
Thank you, sir.
Remember, Carmen Lauber was facing a lot of trouble with the law, but now she's testifying with immunity. She made a deal with prosecutors if she tells the truth about how Kouri Richins purchased fentanyl from her.
She's pretty much getting a out of jail free pass for her testimony.
She comes clean. The first part of her testimony is essentially Carmen Lauber laying out all of her sins for the entire world.
Have you ever sold drugs?
Yes.
Do you have a criminal history involving drugs?
Yes.
Carmen became very emotional on the stand, and yes, she was given a deal for her testimony, but if you believe her, she insists that isn't the only reason that she's doing this. She says she's trying to right a wrong for her role in all of this.
Did you ask Kouri Richins about Eric's death?
Yes, I did.
What did you ask her?
I said, please tell me these pills were not for him. When they had mentioned that it was from an overdose, that hit hard. Only for the fact that if that's what happened, I needed to step up and take accountability of my part in this that happened and what I was asked for.
Defense attorneys love witnesses like Carmen because she has a criminal record. They are going to go after her on her credibility, especially about the drug charges.
And you lied about it?
Yes.
All right.
That's what addicts do when you're using.
That's true, addicts lie. All right.
Active addicts.
Next, the state calls the person they say put those drugs in Carmen's hands, Robert Crozier. Remember, he's the one prosecutors say sold her the fentanyl that killed Eric.
Reselling pills in late 2021 and early 2022?
Selling Roxy's then, yes.
But on cross-examination, the defense points out that he had changed his story and is now saying those pills weren't fentanyl.
When you initially agreed with detectives that you might have sold fentanyl, you were high, you were coming down, and you don't remember saying that specifically. True?
That is correct, yes.
All this testimony was crucial for attempting to piece together the how. But what was really mind-blowing was the why, and that testimony came from Kouri's longtime friends.
Becky Lloyd is someone that was a friend of Kouri and Eric and someone that ended up working at C&E Masonry. Becky testifies that There was an evening in December during Christmas time that Kouri and Becky started talking and having a bit of a heart-to-heart.
She talked about how she was feeling trapped. She was feeling like there wasn't an easy way forward out of the marriage. And she said that in many ways it would be better if he were dead.
Kouri's lawyers pounce, challenging Becky's memory.
A couple of weeks after Eric died, you gave an interview about this conversation you and Kouri had.
Yes.
And isn't it fair that in that first interview, you never mentioned anything about saying it would be better off if Eric was dead, did you?
I don't recall.
You don't recall?
I don't recall.
Okay.
Your Honor, the state calls Allie Stakings.
Allie Staking is called to the stand. This is Kouri's best friend, someone she's known since middle school.
I've known I was going to take the stand for 4 years now, and it's been a nightmare. There was a lot of emotions in walking in the courtroom, and then seeing Kouri, it felt like I was about to betray her going on the stand, and I didn't like that feeling.
Are you one of her best friends?
Yes. Yeah, I was, yeah. When I was asked on the stand if she was my best friend or not, I don't know, because I'm now learning a completely different side of this person that I knew and loved for the last 20 years.
Allie should be a strong witness for the prosecution. They want her to tell the jury about a conversation she had with Eric about that infamous Valentine's Day sandwich, but it sort of backfires on them.
He said that he thought that Kouri had tried to poison him, but it was more of a funny story. It was like an allergic reaction is what we had thought it was. We were all laughing.
And that past laughter has now turned to loss.
I wish I could say it was nice to see my friend, but I miss my friend. But things are different now.
Having your best friend take the stand is one thing.
Your Honor, the state calls Robert Josh Grossman.
But when your ex-lover walks into the courtroom, well, that's just a whole other level.
Mr. Grossman, you need a minute or two?
I don't know what I need, man.
Please have a seat. Mr. Bloodworth, the state's next witness, please.
The most anticipated witness the state is about to call, it's a bombshell.
Your Honor, the state calls Robert Josh Grossman.
Josh Grossman is the man that Kouri was having an affair with. She said she was in love with him.
And he's the one who wrote those text messages to Kouri.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the matter before the court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, subject to the pains and penalties of perjury?
The swearing in of a witness is usually a pretty routine thing in a courtroom, but not this one.
While he's being sworn in, they're asking if he's going to be honest. He doesn't know how to answer it.
Sir, have a seat for me if you don't mind.
I've never seen this moment before, where the judge has to explain what he needs to do.
Mr. Grossman, do you understand the difference between what's true and what's not true?
I do.
And then Josh says, okay, I understand. Yes, I'm going to be honest in my answers. And right away, Josh has our attention.
Sir, do you know Kouri Richins?
I do.
And why did you move to Utah?
To work with her, help her flip houses.
Josh is quiet. He has this southern accent. He's a redhead, like Eric.
He served in the military, including combat in Iraq.
Eric came from an affluent ranching family, and Josh was a man from South Carolina who was essentially couch surfing.
She took care of me, you know. I lived for free. She gave me money whenever I needed it. I just, I liked her, so I'd work for free.
His body is slouched. He fidgets.
During that time that you were romantically involved with Miss Richins, did you love her?
Yes.
During that time, did you feel that she loved you?
I think she did.
So this, of course, gives prosecutors more than just a financial incentive for Eric's death.
The prosecution introduced a series of text messages between Josh and Kouri. They put them up on the screen for a painfully long period of quiet time, allowing everybody to read them.
They were sad. They were very corny at times. He said, you know, I tend to fall head over heels in love with someone. Kouri seemed a little less authentic, like she was kind of leading him on.
I want to know everything about you. It's part of being in love.
There's something specific you want to know? I will be up all night wondering, babe.
The text ranged from poetic confessions of love, almost had like a middle school feeling about it.
I love you. I love talking to you, being with you. I don't have that in my marriage, and I really enjoy my relationship and love for you. But you're right. We both know this love triangle can't go on forever.
He looks so uncomfortable as the world reads his private text messages.
I love you. K, kind. O, outgoing. U, unique. R, romantic. I, inches away from signing her divorce papers and falling madly in love with her soulmate.
Too late. I have already fallen. Night.
There's this moment where he starts crying.
I'm watching this and wondering, what is the jury thinking right now?
We couldn't talk about it. You could see in people's faces and their eyes, like, ugh. That was heartbreaking.
Josh presented himself as very sincere and genuine, sad, brokenhearted. It was kind of devastating to watch him on the stand.
The court, I think, was very patient with him.
Do you need a minute or two?
I don't know what I need.
Let's just start with that. Why don't we take pause for a moment.
The text between Josh and Kouri evolved. Kouri sort of suggesting to Josh her dream life, which would be to live with him in the guest home of the Midway Mansion and run a event center together and raise children together.
I have a crazy dream. I divorce and come up with millions and millions. We buy Midway and live in guest house and rent out the huge house as a big event center. $15,000 a day. Raise some kids, have a little farm. Deal?
You see all of these exchanges and they contextualize what that relationship was.
And then Kouri sends her boyfriend a plea in the form of a text, and that's less than 48 hours before Eric is found dead.
She texts roughly, hang in until Friday. Well, what was Friday? Friday was the day Eric Richins died.
Life is going to be different, I promise. Can I try Friday? Give me a few days. Hang in there until then, please.
The relationship between Josh and Kouri just fizzled out. It was in the weeks after Eric passed away.
He testifies that he and Kouri take a drive, they stop, and they sit in her car and talk.
Josh testified that Kouri asked him a very important question, perhaps a very revealing question.
What sort did she ask?
She asked if I had ever killed anybody.
And was that specific to killed anybody while serving in Iraq?
Right.
Did you respond?
I did.
Did she ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
Sir, what was that follow-up question?
She asked me how it made me feel or something along those lines.
Grossman's dramatic and emotional testimony comes to a close, and then something utterly mind-blowing unfolds in the courtroom with the defense team as they are about to present their case.
Ms. Lewis, Ms. Nestor, what's the plan?
Ready to go.
Who's defense counsel's first witness?
Can we have just a minute?
Yeah.
We have a couple of options.
Understood.
The prosecution's case took 13 days, and the defense's case was expected to go 7 to 10 days.
Kouri's defense attorneys are whispering to each other back and forth, and it seems like they're trying to decide who to call first. But that is not what we got.
Your Honor, actually at this time, the defense intends to arrest.
They said they were calling no one and also rested. It was an absolute shock.
I was very surprised that there was no defense.
So when the defense rested without presenting any witnesses, my mouth, I think, dropped open. There has to be another side of the story, and we can fill in the little holes. And then when they didn't call anyone, I was shocked.
Why would Kouri Richins' defense rest without calling anyone? They may believe the prosecution didn't make out their case, that having any witness on the stand wouldn't make sense because they've already won their case.
Do you understand that you have the right to testify at trial?
Yes, I do.
Are you following your attorney's advice and waiving your right to testify at trial?
Yes, I am.
Prosecution and the defense have presented their closing arguments. Judge Mrazek instructs the jury, and court's dismissed. Then, on the same day that the trial ends, and just within a few hours, there's word from the court.
Okay, I just received some news that a verdict is in.
No way.
If you feel overcome with emotion, just look down. We cannot have any outward reaction.
Yeah.
I told my kids early on that Eric had died, and my kids were devastated. I said along the way, sometimes it looks like Kouri might have done it, but and then my kids would say, well, did she? And I'd say, I don't think so, but it sometimes looks like it.
There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that Kouri is innocent. I know my little sister. She loves her boys way too much to take their father away from them.
State of Utah versus Kouri Richins. Ms. Richins is present.
After deliberating for just under 3 hours, the jury informs the court they've come to an agreement.
The court is informed that the jury has reached a verdict. Would you please hand the verdict form to the deputy? Ms. Richins, please stand. Count 1, aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Kouri Richins, is guilty of aggravated murder.
Kouri Richins is found guilty on all counts.
The entire 3 hours was constant, robust, electrifying discussion. There were some people who were sort of on the fence with some of the elements, like they felt that she was guilty, but maybe the state didn't meet the burden. And so we focused on what some of those issues were. They gave them pause, and then we all discussed at length, and that helped us kind of come to the conclusion, and it helped people jump off the fence. To convict a woman of murder was absolutely heartbreaking.
Kouri's friend, Allie Staking, watched the verdict live online.
Guilty.
Eric was my friend too. I didn't choose Kouri over Eric, but I've lost both of them. She was somebody that meant a lot to me. Her family meant a lot to me, and they meant a lot to my kids. And it's a loss. Nobody wins in this.
After the verdict is read, Eric's family and friends gather outside of the courthouse and embrace each other.
Justice is served.
Yep. Justice.
4 years ago, our family lost the brightest light.
Eric is deeply loved and missed every single day. We are grateful to everyone who has worked tirelessly to bring justice for Eric. Our focus is now on honoring Eric's life and supporting his boys as we all continue to heal. Thank you all for being here.
In a statement to ABC News, the Richins family wrote that the justice system has now fairly run its course, and we believe the jury's verdict was just and accurate. There is a hole in our family that cannot be filled, but now at least we have definitive closure. Kouri Richins will return to that courtroom to learn her sentence on May 13th, which is no ordinary day. That would have been Eric Richins' 44th birthday. She faces up to life in prison. And her legal troubles are far from over.
She's facing a whole other criminal indictment with multiple counts of mortgage fraud, money laundering, forgery, bad checks. These are serious allegations.
One of the real tragedies in this case is Eric and Kouri's kids. Their father tragically passed away. Their mother's parental rights have been terminated. She has forever lost her children. Those children have been adopted by one of Eric's sisters.
There are 3 little boys at the heart of this.
Just love. They have a lot of love surrounding them. They're great boys, and they're gonna be fine.
He was an amazing father, brother, son, nephew, friend. He was an amazing person with the most contagious laugh out there.
I'll remember Eric's laugh. If I can hear it in my head. He needs to be remembered as just a loving dad. He had so much more life to live, and he wanted so much for his boys. I'm gonna remember just how much he loved them.
The human mind possesses an extraordinary capacity to construct elaborate facades behind which the darkest impulses can hide. To the casual observer, a person may appear to be a devoted spouse, an ambitious entrepreneur, a loving parent, or a dedicated craftsman. Yet, beneath these carefully curated presentations, there can exist a starkly different reality fueled by greed, desperation, or hidden malice. When these facades inevitably crack, they reveal a profound disconnect between the public persona and the private actor, leaving communities shattered and investigators tasked with piecing together the truth from the fragments left behind. This is the chronicle of 2 such lives lived under the gaze of unsuspecting neighbors and the meticulous investigative work that eventually brought their secrets into the light of justice. In the quiet, picturesque valley of Summit County, Utah, the majestic mountain, peaks and affluent estates suggest a life of peace and security. It was here that Kouri Richins built her life alongside her husband, Eric Richins. Eric was a successful stonemasonry business owner, a man known for his robust work ethic, his love for the outdoors, and his deep devotion to his 3 young sons who were 10, 9, and 6 years old. To those who knew them, the Richins family represented the quintessential American dream. They possessed a beautiful home, thriving businesses, and a seemingly bright future. However, in the early hours of a cold March morning, the illusion of this perfect life was shattered Shortly after 3 in the morning, Kouri Richins made a frantic call to the emergency dispatch line, reporting that her husband was cold to the touch and not breathing. When paramedics and sheriff deputies arrived at the residence, they entered a bedroom where they found Eric lying on, his back on the floor, unresponsive and without a pulse. The rhythmic, mechanical sound of a cardiopulmonary resuscitation machine filled the room as first responders desperately tried to revive the 39-year-old father. Outside the room, Kouri stood in a state of apparent shock, explaining to the responding officers that they had been celebrating a significant financial milestone for her real estate business earlier that evening. She recounted that they had shared a drink around 9 the night before, after which she went to sleep in one of her children's rooms because her son was experiencing night terrors. She claimed that when she returned to her own bed in the middle of the night, she touched her husband and found him cold and lifeless. The sudden death of a young, athletic, and seemingly healthy man of 39 was a profound shock to the community and to his extended family. Initially, on-scene emergency medical technicians and deputies hypothesized that Eric may have suffered a sudden medical emergency, such as a brain aneurysm, given the presence of blood near his nose and mouth during resuscitative efforts. This theory offered a tragic but natural explanation for an otherwise inexplicable loss. Eric's sister, Katie, arrived at the home in a state of raw, guttural grief, unable to comprehend how her vibrant brother could be gone so suddenly. The county coroner's office, bound by legal requirements to investigate any unexpected or mysterious death of a young person, ordered a forensic autopsy to determine the official cause of death. In the weeks and months that followed, Kouri Richins presented herself to the public as a grieving widow navigating the harrowing terrain of sudden loss. She spoke of the intense difficulty of the nighttime hours when the absence of a loved one is felt most acutely, and how she struggled to find resources to help her young boys process their grief, finding a lack of suitable children's literature on the subject. She announced that she had decided to write a book herself. The result was a self-published children's book titled Are You With Me?, which she co-created with the assistance of a writer. The book was designed to comfort grieving children, offering a narrative where a deceased father reassures his son that he is still present in spirit, watching over his soccer games and sharing in his daily triumphs. Kouri embarked on a promotional tour, appearing on local television programs, including a segment on a morning show called Good Things Utah. During these interviews, she spoke with soft-spoken vulnerability about her journey as a young widow describing her efforts to maintain a routine for her children and help them understand that their father's presence was still with them, albeit in a different way. To the viewers at home, she appeared to be a courageous and resilient mother, turning a personal tragedy into a source of support for others. The television hosts offered her warm condolences, praising her strength and her dedication to her family. Yet behind this public display of empathy and maternal devotion, a parallel investigation was quietly unfolding. The initial autopsy results had returned, and they did not point to a brain aneurysm or any other natural cause. Instead, the toxicology report revealed that Eric Richins had died from acute drug intoxication. The substance responsible was fentanyl, a powerful synthetic opioid, and it was present in his system at 5 times the lethal dosage. Furthermore, forensic testing indicated that the drug was not of a medical grade that could have been prescribed by a physician. It was illicitly manufactured. Fentanyl, the type typically produced and distributed through illicit channels. This revelation transformed a tragic sudden death into a criminal investigation. The sheriff's office was now faced with a critical question. How did a healthy young man who had no known history of illicit drug use ingest a massive, fatal dose of fentanyl? Investigators secured a search warrant for the Richins. Residents looking for any trace of the drug or related paraphernalia and seized the electronic devices of both Eric and Kouri, while the physical search of the home yielded no remnants of fentanyl. The digital forensic analysis of the communication records and financial documents began to reveal a complex web of deception, massive debt, and personal conflict. Members of Eric's family immediately voiced their suspicions to law enforcement. They painted a picture of a marriage that was far from perfect, plagued by significant financial strain and a profound breach of trust. According to family members, Eric had discovered in 2020 that Kouri had secretly taken a $250,000 line of credit against their home, a property that Eric solely owned. She had allegedly done so by forging his signature, utilizing the funds to support her rapidly expanding real estate and home flipping business, which was operating under severe financial pressure. This discovery had devastated Eric, prompting him to consult with a divorce attorney and to take immediate steps to protect his assets for his children. He secretly restructured his estate, placing the family home and his successful stonemasonry business into a trust, naming his sister Katie as the trustee and executor, and designating his 3 sons as the primary beneficiaries. Kouri was largely excluded from the new estate plan. The financial pressure on Kouri was immense. despite her public image as a highly successful real estate mogul managing 15 renovation projects. Her business model relied heavily on high-interest, short-term loans, commonly referred to as hard money loans. By the time of Eric's death, she was carrying millions of dollars in debt. One of her most ambitious projects was a massive, unfinished mansion in Midway, Utah, which she had purchased for nearly $3 million with the hope of converting it into a luxury event space. However, she lacked the capital to complete the renovations, and without access to Eric's estate or his credit, the project was on the verge of foreclosure. The financial strain had also begun to impact those closest to her. A close friend, Chelsea Barney, had entrusted Kouri with $45,000 as a down payment for her first home, under an agreement where Kouri would secure the loan and manage the transaction. Instead, Chelsea later discovered that the deed to the property had never been properly recorded in her name. The house fell into foreclosure, and she and her family were evicted, losing their entire savings. Another family who purchased a remodeled home from Kouri filed a lawsuit after discovering extensive hidden toxic mold and water damage that caused severe illness in their children, ultimately leading to the financial ruin of the buyers and the foreclosure of the property. As investigators delved deeper into the weeks leading up to Eric's death, they uncovered evidence of previous, highly suspicious illnesses. In 2019, during a vacation to Greece, Eric had become violently ill after drinking what he believed was a non-alcoholic beverage because he was taking medication for Lyme disease. He was strictly forbidden from consuming alcohol. After tasting the drink, he felt immediate, severe symptoms and later expressed to his sister that he suspected Kouri had attempted to poison him. A more alarming incident occurred on Valentine's Day in 2022, less than 3 weeks before his death. Kouri had purchased a sandwich from a local diner and left it for Eric with an affectionate note. After taking a single bite of the sandwich, Eric suffered a severe physical reaction, necessitating the use of his son's epinephrine auto-injector and a large dose of antihistamines to survive. He texted a friend later that day, stating that he believed his wife had tried to poison him, writing, "You almost lost me this time." The breakthrough in the criminal investigation came when investigators focused on Kouri's communication records in the months surrounding Eric's death. A private investigator hired by the Richins family had analyzed phone data and identified an unusually high frequency of text messages and calls between Kouri and a woman named Carmen Lauber. Carmen was a local house cleaner who worked for Kouri's real estate business, but she also possessed a criminal record involving drug offenses when a sheriff's office executed a search of Carmen's residence. They discovered drug paraphernalia and a copy of Eric's obituary, taped to a mirror. Faced with significant drug and firearm charges that carried the potential for lengthy prison sentences, Carmen agreed to cooperate with the prosecution. Carmen revealed to investigators that Kouri had approached her on 2 separate occasions in early 2022, requesting that she procure strong prescription pain medication for an investor who had allegedly suffered a back injury. Carmen admitted that she contacted a local dealer and purchased illicit fentanyl pills, which she then delivered to Kouri. According to Carmen, after the first delivery in February, Kouri contacted her again, stating that the investor wanted something stronger. Carmen then procured a second, more potent batch of fentanyl, which she left at one of Kouri's renovation properties just days before Eric's death. Communication logs showed that on Valentine's Day and on the days immediately preceding Eric's death, there was an intense exchange of text messages between Kouri and Carmen, precisely coinciding with the dates of Eric's near-fatal illness and his subsequent demise. Based on this accumulation of financial motive, history of prior poisoning attempts, and direct links to the acquisition of illicit fentanyl, the state of Utah arrested Kouri Richins in May of 2023. She was initially charged with aggravated murder and possession of controlled substances with the intent to distribute. The arrest of a celebrated children's book author on charges of murdering her husband sent shockwaves through the community and captured national media attention. Kouri maintained her innocence, and her family steadfastly supported her, suggesting that Eric's death was the result of an accidental overdose of substances he may have obtained independently to manage chronic pain. While held in the county jail awaiting trial, Kouri's legal troubles deepened. During a routine search of her cell, sheriff's deputies discovered a handwritten 4-page letter hidden inside her belongings. The letter, which began with the phrase "walk the dog," appeared to contain explicit instructions for her mother to relay to her brother, Ronnie. In the letter, Kouri outlined a narrative she wanted her brother to present in court, suggesting that he should testify that Eric had admitted to obtaining pain pills and fentanyl from workers at his family ranch or from Mexico. The prosecution argued that this letter was clear evidence of witness tampering and a consciousness of guilt, representing a desperate attempt to fabricate an alternative explanation for how the lethal drugs entered her husband's system. The defense countered that the letter was merely a draft of a fictional manuscript or attorney-client work product, but the court ruled it admissible as evidence. In March of 2024, the prosecution amended the charges to include attempted murder, specifically referencing the Valentine's Day sandwich incident. Furthermore, a new witness came forward, a handyman named Josh Grossman. Investigators discovered that Kouri had been engaged in a secret, years-long romantic affair with Josh, communicating with him almost daily. In the weeks leading up to Eric's death, Kouri had sent text messages to Josh, expressing her deep love for him and her desire for a future together, writing that if her husband could just go away, their lives would be perfect. She also shared a dream of divorcing Eric, securing millions of dollars, and purchasing the Midway mansion to live in the guest house with Josh while running a lucrative events center. The trial of Kouri Richins commenced in a crowded courtroom in Park City, Utah. The prosecution presented a meticulous case over 13 days, calling forensic accountants to detail her devastating financial debts, medical examiners to confirm the lethal concentration of fentanyl in Eric's system, and Carmen Lauber to recount the purchase and delivery of the fatal pills. The most dramatic moment of the trial occurred when Josh Grossman took the stand. Visible shaken and emotional, he read aloud the intimate text messages they had exchanged and testified that shortly after Eric's death, Kouri had sat with him in her car and asked if he had ever killed anyone during his military service in Iraq, followed by a question about how it felt to take a life. When the prosecution rested, the courtroom prepared for the defense's presentation, which was expected to last more than a week. However, in a stunning turn of events, Kouri's defense attorneys stood before the judge and announced that they were resting their case immediately, calling no witnesses and presenting no evidence. This high-risk strategy was based on the assertion that the state had failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt how the fentanyl was actually administered to Eric, as no forensic trace of the drug was found on any glass or container in the bedroom. The jury of 8 citizens deliberated for less than 3 hours. When they returned to the courtroom, the foreperson read the verdict, guilty on all counts, including aggravated murder, attempted murder, and insurance fraud. The quick deliberation reflected a unanimous conclusion that the mountain of circumstantial evidence, the financial desperation, the secret affair, and the acquisition of the poison painted an undeniable picture of guilt. Kouri Richins, who had sought to write her own narrative of grief and resilience, was ultimately undone by her own written words and digital trail. She faced a sentence of up to life in prison without the possibility of parole, while her 3 sons, now under the care of Eric's sister, began the long process of healing from a tragedy that had cost them both of their parents. As this dramatic legal battle reached its conclusion in the mountains of Utah, another narrative of hidden darkness and meticulous detective work was completed. In the scenic wine country of Paso Robles, California, nestled halfway between Los Angeles and San Francisco, Paso Robles is a region celebrated for its rolling hills, ancient oak trees, and world-class vineyards. It is a destination where people seek tranquility, natural beauty, and a slower pace of life. Yet, in May of 2018, this peaceful community was confronted with a baffling and chilling mystery that would test the limits of modern forensic science and investigative persistence. The focus of this mystery was Paradise Ranch, a secluded property on El Faro road owned by 62-year-old Nancy Woodrum. Nancy was a beloved figure in the local community, a highly skilled hairstylist who operated a popular salon downtown and was known for her warm, generous, and deeply faithful nature. Raised as a devout Jehovah's Witness, Nancy possessed a strong moral compass and a deep belief in a future paradise on earth, a hope that inspired her to name her property Paradise Ranch after the death of her husband, Robert, a few years prior. She lived alone in a small, remodeled cottage on the property, while renting out the larger, main Victorian home to vacationers. On the weekend of May 4th, 2018, a large group of more than 20 wedding guests checked into the main house at Paradise Ranch to celebrate a local vineyard wedding. The bride and her bridesmaids were staying in the adjacent guest house, enjoying the serene surroundings. Now she had met them, briefly welcoming them with her characteristic warmth and offering a friendly hug. The following day, Saturday, May 5th, Nancy's daughter, Amanda, grew concerned when her mother failed to appear for a scheduled Bible study, an absence that was highly uncharacteristic for her devout mother. Amanda asked a neighbor to check on the cottage. The neighbor discovered the front door wide open, the television blaring, and no sign of Nancy. When Amanda arrived at the property, she walked into a scene that immediately filled her with dread. Inside the neat cottage, her mother's purse, keys, cellular phone, and tablet were all sitting on a bench. Her two vehicles were parked outside. More disturbingly, there were large blood stains on the carpet, blood splatter on the bedroom walls, and headboard, and a beige pillow covered in blood. Amanda immediately called 911 and the San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's Office dispatched deputies and detectives to the scene. Clinton Cole, a senior deputy at the time, was among the first investigators to arrive on El Faro Road. As he surveyed the cottage, the lack of forced entry combined with the Significant blood evidence led him to a grim conclusion. Nancy had been victims of a violent assault inside her bedroom and taken from the property against her. Will, the tranquility of Paradise Ranch was instantly transformed as the property was cordoned off as a major crime scene, complete with search dogs, helicopters, and forensic technicians. The timing of the disappearance presented a significant challenge. The more than 20 wedding guests staying at the ranch had been returning from a rehearsal. Dinner late Friday evening. Investigators were faced with an immediate and overwhelming suspect pool. Had an intruder come onto this remote property in the dead of night, or was the perpetrator someone among the wedding party who had easy access to the secluded area? Detectives began the arduous task of interviewing every single guest, searching for any unusual activity or observation. An initial breakthrough occurred on Saturday evening when officers from the California Highway Patrol discovered a bundle of bedding and clothing discarded along La Ponza Road, approximately 6 miles from Paradise Ranch. The items included a blood-stained sheet, a pillow, and a woman's dress and shorts. Amanda confirmed that the clothing and the distinctive pattern of the bedding belonged to her mother. The discovery suggested that Nancy had been wrapped in her own bedding and transported away from the property, either severely injured or deceased. As the search for Nancy intensified throughout the rugged foothills and riverbeds of Paso Robles, detectives worked to establish a precise timeline. A forensic review of Nancy's phone records revealed a critical detail. A call to 911 had been attempted from her phone at 12:17 in the morning on Saturday, but the call had lasted for 0 seconds, indicating it had been disconnected almost instantly. This brief aborted emergency call provided investigators with an exact timestamp of the assault. Despite interviewing all the wedding guests, detectives found no direct evidence linking any of them to the crime. One guest who had remained at the property during the rehearsal dinner initially raised suspicions due to his uncooperative demeanor, but subsequent interviews, photo verification of his whereabouts, and a voluntary genetic sample cleared him of any involvement. Investigators then turned their attention to others who had access to the property. Nancy had recently decided to sell Paradise Ranch to focus full-time on her ministry work, and several contractors, painters, and plumbers had been performing repairs on the cottage. Among them was Sean Bloom, a general contractor who had recently been fired by Nancy after a heated dispute over payments. Sean was initially considered a prime person of interest, but he cooperated fully with the investigation and voluntarily provided a genetic sample which did not match the foreign male genetic material, that forensic. Technicians had recovered from the bloody pillow in Nancy's bedroom. The investigation also examined Nancy's estranged son, Chad, who had a history of personal conflict with his mother regarding her religious beliefs. Chad was highly distrustful of law enforcement and refused to provide a genetic sample. Deputies placed him under surveillance, and after observing him drive with an open container of alcohol, they initiated a traffic stop and retrieved discarded beverage containers from his vehicle. However, the subsequent analysis of the genetic material from the bottles cleared him as well. With no matches in the national database of genetic profiles and all initial suspects cleared, the investigation began to stall. The community grew anxious, and Nancy's family struggled with the agonizing lack of progress. It was at this critical juncture that the sheriff's office decided to utilize a novel investigative technique that had never been used in their county: geofencing. Detectives drafted a search warrant for Google requesting satellite positioning data for any mobile devices that were active within a virtual boundary around Nancy's cottage during the precise hours of her disappearance, specifically centering on the 12:17 morning timestamp, because Paradise Ranch was situated in a highly rural, isolated area. Investigators knew that any anomalous device active on the property in the middle of the night would be highly significant. Months later, Google returned the requested data. When analysts plotted the coordinates, they identified a single distinct device that had pinged inside Nancy's studio at 1:33 and again at 1:52 in the morning on Saturday. The subscriber information for that device revealed a name that sent a jolt through the investigative team: Carlo Fuentes Flores. Carlo was a local painter who had been employed to work on the decks of the Maine house at Paradise Ranch in the weeks prior to Nancy's disappearance. During his initial routine interview early in the case, he had been exceedingly polite, cooperative, and mild-mannered. He had spoke warmly of Nancy, recalling how she had praised his hard work and even bought him tamales. He had a reputation as a dedicated professional, a loving father to his daughter, and a neat, tidy craftsman. There had been absolutely no reason to suspect him, and he possessed no prior criminal record in either the United States or Mexico. However, the geofence data placed his phone at the exact scene of the abduction. In the middle of the night, armed with this new focus, detectives obtained a warrant to examine Carlo's digital search history. What they discovered was a stark contrast to his polite, daytime persona. His search logs revealed a consistent preoccupation with escorts and explicit search terms related to older women, commonly referred to as cougars. Further forensic analysis of his phone uncovered numerous self-shot videos of sexual encounters with various women, revealing a highly active, hidden lifestyle of excess and infidelity that was entirely unknown to his family and employer. To secure an arrest, investigators needed physical proof connecting Carlo to the violent assault in the bedroom. A surveillance team followed him to a local restaurant where he had lunch with his wife. When they departed, a detective retrieved the plastic beverage bottle he had used from the table. Forensic laboratory testing confirmed that the genetic material on the bottle was an identical match to the foreign male genetic profile recovered from the bloody handprint on the pillow in Nancy's bedroom. In December of 2018, detectives brought Carlo Fuentes Flores into an interrogation room. Initially, he maintained his cooperative, friendly demeanor, discussing his painting work on the property and denying any knowledge of Nancy's whereabouts. But as the detectives gradually revealed the depth of their evidence, presenting the genetic match and the location data that proved his presence at the cottage, his composure dissolved. Carlo broke down and confessed, initially attempting to claim that he had returned to the property in the middle of the night to retrieve a ladder, accidentally struck Nancy with his truck in the driveway, and brought her inside to help her. However, under further questioning, he admitted to the far more sinister truth. He had gone to the property with the intent of forcing a sexual encounter with Nancy, believing she had been flirting with him when she offered him tamales. He entered her home, assaulted her to prevent her from screaming, raped her, and then smothered her to death with a pillow to ensure she could not identify him. In a stunning development, Carlo offered to lead detectives to her remains. He was placed in an unmarked police vehicle and directed investigators on a long, somber drive eastward into the remote, arid grasslands of the Carrizo Plain, near the border of Kern County. After searching through several desolate areas, Carlo identified a small, out-of-place mound of stones in the tall grass. There, investigators discovered Nancy's skeletal remains, which had been left exposed to the elements and wild animals. Following his formal arrest, Carlo wrote a letter of apology to Nancy's family, expressing deep contrition for his actions, though his recorded jail. Conversations with his wife showed a lingering focus on his own misfortune, rather than the tragedy he had inflicted. He initially entered a plea of not guilty, and his defense team attempted to suppress his confession by arguing that his rights had not been properly explained in his native Spanish language. The court denied the motion, noting that Carlo possessed an excellent command of English, which he used daily in his business and personal life. In January of 2022, rather than proceed through a lengthy, publicized trial, Carlo agreed to a slow plea process. The prosecution presented the overwhelming evidence to the judge, who formally found him guilty of first-degree murder with special circumstances of rape and burglary. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The resolution of Nancy's case brought a quiet sense of justice and closure to the Paso Robles community. At a memorial service held at a local vineyard, hundreds of friends and neighbors gathered to celebrate a woman whose strong faith, love for horses, and generous heart had left an indelible mark on everyone she met. Her daughter, Amanda, eventually took over the care of her mother's horse, Montana, carrying on the family's equestrian tradition with her own daughter, ensuring that Nancy's legacy of love, nature, and family lived on through the generations. These two distinct cases, unfolding in different landscapes but united by the themes of hidden deception and meticulous justice, serve as a profound testament to the dedication of law enforcement and the power of modern forensic science. In Utah, the digital footprint of financial transactions, search histories, and text messages exposed a calculated plot of greed and poison disguised as a story of tragic grief. In California, a novel search of geographical satellite data pierced through the polite facade of a trusted worker to reveal a predatory crime and recover a beloved mother who had been abandoned in the desert. In both instances, the triumph of thorough, logical analysis over elaborate deception ensured that those who sought to hide their darkest deeds behind masks of innocence were ultimately held accountable, restoring a sense of order and justice to the communities they had shattered. The human mind possesses an extraordinary capacity to construct elaborate facades. In the study of criminal psychology, we frequently encounter individuals who lead dual existences, presenting a carefully curated persona to the public while harboring dark, destructive impulses in secret. As investigators and analysts of human behavior, our objective is to peel back these layers of deception, utilizing both meticulous physical evidence and the subtle, telling nuances of interpersonal dynamics to reconstruct the truth. This exploration examines two distinct investigations, separated by geography, but united by the theme of betrayal and the eventual triumph of dedicated investigative work. Both cases demonstrate how modern forensic techniques, combined with patient behavioral analysis, can dismantle the most calculating attempts to evade justice. The first narrative takes us to the tranquil landscape of Paso Robles, California, a region characterized by rolling hills, expansive vineyards, and ancient oak trees. It is a place where many seek peace and natural beauty, making the sudden intrusion of violence all the more jarring. In the late spring of 2018, a 62-year-old woman named Nancy Woodrum was a beloved fixture in the Paso Robles community. She operated a popular downtown salon called The Strand, where she was known for her warmth, generosity, and an innate ability to connect with people from all walks of life. Nancy was a person of deep faith, living as a devout Jehovah's Witness, and she possessed a profound love for nature and horses. In 2006, Nancy and her late husband purchased a rural property on Faro Road. Together, they remodeled the estate, turning it into a beautiful vacation rental known as Paradise Ranch. The property featured a spacious two-story Victorian home with wraparound porches shaded by a large willow tree. Following her husband's passing, Nancy lived alone in a modest attached studio apartment on the property, managing the rental and planning to eventually sell the ranch so she could devote herself entirely to her faith and her community. On Friday, May 4th, 2018, a wedding party consisting of more than 20 guests checked into Paradise Ranch. The atmosphere was celebratory, and Nancy greeted the guests with her characteristic hospitality. Yet by the following afternoon, Saturday, May 5th, this peaceful setting was abruptly transformed into a complex crime scene. The alarm was raised when Nancy failed to appear for a scheduled Bible study, an absence that was highly unusual for someone of her discipline habits. Concerned, her daughter, Amanda, requested that a neighbor check on Nancy. The neighbor arrived to find the door to Nancy's studio wide open, the television blaring, and no sign of Nancy. When family members and the first responding deputies from the San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's Office entered the apartment, they were confronted with immediate indicators of foul play. The space remained largely as Nancy had left it, with her purse, car keys, cell phone, and tablet computer still resting on a bench. Her two vehicles were parked outside. However, the presence of two large blood stains on the carpet, blood spatter on the headboard, the cabinet, and a nearby wall, as well as a bloody pillow, suggested a violent struggle. Nancy's sheets and bedding were entirely missing. Senior Deputy Degnan and Reserve Detective Clinton Cole were among the investigators tasked with making sense of this chilling scene. From a behavioral standpoint, the absence of forced entry suggested either that the victim knew her assailant or that the perpetrator had taken advantage of an unlocked door in a quiet, rural area. The presence of her personal belongings indicated that this was not a voluntary departure. The investigative team faced an immediate and daunting challenge, with more than 20 wedding guests staying in the main house and the adjacent guest house. The pool of potential persons of interest was unusually large. Investigators had to consider whether an out-of-town guest had committed a crime of opportunity or if someone closer to home was involved. As the crime scene was being secured, a crucial discovery was made several miles away. An officer with the California Highway Patrol located a bundle of bedding and clothing on the side of La Ponza Road, approximately 6 or 7 miles from Nancy's residence. The items included a pillow, a dress, a pair of shorts, a shirt, and bedding with a gingham pattern that matched the remaining linens at Paradise Ranch. The presence of blood stains on these discarded items supported the hypothesis that Nancy had been wrapped in her own bedding and transported away from the property, either critically injured or deceased. With the recovery of the bedding, the pressure on the investigative team intensified. Detective Cole and his colleagues began the methodical process of interviewing every individual who had been on the property, the wedding guests, many of whom were returning from the celebrations, found themselves in the middle of a major criminal investigation. Among the guests, one individual drew temporary suspicion due to inconsistencies regarding his whereabouts during the rehearsal dinner on Friday night. The individual initially showed reluctance to cooperate with investigators, which served as a behavioral red flag. Recognizing the need for clarity, detectives traveled to his residence in Northern California to conduct a follow-up interview. During this face-to-face meeting, the man became cooperative, and his wife provided photographic evidence confirming his presence at the rehearsal dinner. The man voluntarily provided a deoxyribonucleic acid sample, which ultimately cleared him of any involvement. This phase of the investigation highlights a fundamental truth of detective work: seemingly suspicious behavior, such as reluctance to cooperate with law enforcement, can sometimes stem from personal anxiety or a general distrust of authority rather than actual guilt. By systematically verifying alibis and gathering scientific evidence, investigators can avoid the pitfall of premature tunnel vision. With the wedding guests cleared, investigators turned their attention to other individuals who had recent access to Paradise Ranch because Nancy was preparing the property for sale. Several contractors, painters, and landscapers had been working on the estate. One contractor, Sean Bloom, had engaged in a heated dispute with Nancy over the quality of his work and the terms of payment. The dispute had resulted in his termination from the job, and text messages on Nancy's phone revealed that the relationship had become highly contentious. Bloom was interviewed and openly, acknowledged his dislike for Nancy, but he eventually provided a voluntary deoxyribonucleic acid sample that excluded him as a suspect. Investigators also examined Nancy's family dynamics, focusing briefly on her estranged son, Chad. The relationship between Nancy and Chad had been strained for several years, largely due to differences regarding their religious beliefs. Text messages from a night before Nancy's disappearance showed that Nancy had reached out to him in an attempt to find common ground. Chad initially refused to provide a deoxyribonucleic acid sample, citing concerns about privacy. Investigators placed him under surveillance and later retrieved abandoned beverage container from his vehicle following a minor legal infraction. Testing of the deoxyribonucleic acid from the container cleared Chad of any connection to the crime scene. As the physical leads began to stall, the investigation required a fresh, analytical approach. Investigators possessed a critical piece of evidence: a partial bloody handprint on the pillow found in Nancy's bedroom. Forensic specialist Janine had discovered the print by examining the pillow from an elevated angle, suggesting the pillow may have been used as a weapon to suffocate the victim. Deoxyribonucleic acid extracted from the center of this handprint belonged to an unknown male, but the profile did not match any existing records in the combined DNA index system database. In search of a breakthrough, the San Luis Obispo County Sheriff's Office decided to utilize a relatively new investigative tool, Google geofencing. This technique involves establishing a virtual perimeter or geofence around a specific geographic area during a precise time frame to identify mobile devices that were active within those coordinates. To narrow the time frame, investigators analyzed Nancy's telephone records and discovered that an attempted 911 call had been placed from her number at midnight 17 on the night of her disappearance. The call had lasted for 0 seconds, indicating it had been abruptly terminated. This provided a critical anchor point. The search warrants served to Google requested data for the area surrounding Nancy's cottage during the early morning hours of May 5th. The return data revealed a device pinging inside Nancy's studio apartment at 1:33 and again at 1:52 in the morning. By cross-referencing this device with subscriber information, investigators obtained a name: Carlo Fuentes Flores. The identification of Carlo Fuentes Flores was a surprising development. He was a local painter who had been hired to work on the decks at Paradise Ranch. By all accounts, Fuentes Flores was a quiet, polite, and professional family man. He had no prior criminal record in either the United States or Mexico, and his Employer described him as a dedicated father and a neat, reliable artisan. When investigators had initially contacted him during the routine screening of contractors, Fuentes Flores had been cooperative and friendly, expressing shock over Nancy's disappearance and claiming he had no knowledge of where she stayed on the property. However, a deeper psychological and forensic analysis revealed a profound disconnect between Fuentes Flores' public persona and his private life. A forensic examination of his digital history, authorized by search warrants, uncovered search queries related to older women and specific adult content. Further investigation of his mobile phone revealed numerous self-recorded videos of sexual encounters with various women, detailing a hidden lifestyle of excessive drinking and secret meetings. With the geofence data placing his phone at the scene of the crime, and a potential psychological motive emerging, investigators needed to obtain his deoxynucleic acid to compare it against the profile found on the bloody pillow. The Sheriff's Special Operations Unit placed Fuentes Flores under surveillance while he was dining at a local restaurant with his wife. Investigators observed him drinking from a plastic soft drink bottle. Once the couple departed, detectives retrieved the bottle from the table. The forensic laboratory confirmed that the deoxyribonucleic acid from the bottle matched the deoxyribonucleic acid found in the bloody handprint on Nancy's pillow. On the morning of the interrogation, Detective Cole and his partner, Detective Dave, prepared to confront Fuentes Flores. The interrogation began with routine questions about his work on the property, establishing his familiarity with the layout of Paradise Ranch. Fuentes Flores maintained his polite, cooperative demeanor, reiterating that he did not know where Nancy lived and had no involvement in her disappearance. The dynamic shifted when the detectives began to present the indisputable evidence they had gathered. They informed him that they knew he had returned to the property on the night of the crime and that they possessed scientific evidence linking him to the scene. Upon realizing the extent of the evidence against him, Fuentes Flores' physical demeanor changed visibly. He admitted that he had made a mistake initially, claiming that he had returned to the property late at night to retrieve a ladder and had accidentally struck Nancy with his truck as he was backing up. He claimed that he had carried her inside the cottage to help her, where she subsequently collapsed. Detectives, recognizing the inconsistencies in this story when compared to the blood spatter and the bloody handprint on the pillow, continued to press for the truth. Fuentes Flores eventually abandoned the accident narrative. He admitted that he had traveled to the property with the intention of engaging in a sexual encounter with Nancy, falsely rationalizing that she had been flirting with him. when she previously offered him food. He confessed that he had entered her residence, assaulted her, raped her, and subsequently suffocated her with a pillow to prevent her from reporting the assault. He estimated that he remained in the cottage for approximately 40 minutes before wrapping her body in the bedding and loading her into his truck. In a striking moment during the interrogation, Fuentes Flores offered to guide detectives to where he had hidden Nancy's remains. He accompanied investigators on a long drive east toward the remote and arid expanse of the Carrizo Plain, the border of Kern County. After stopping at several locations, Fuentes Flores identified a small, out-of-place circle of stacked rocks in the tall grass. There, investigators recovered Nancy's remains, which had been subjected to significant animal activity. Following the recovery, Fuentes Flores expressed contrition and wrote an apology letter to Nancy's children and grandchildren, as well as to his own family. He was subsequently arrested and charged with first-degree murder with special circumstances. Prior to the trial, the defense team filed a motion to suppress the confession, arguing that because Fuentes Flores was a native Spanish speaker, the Miranda warnings should have been administered in Spanish. The prosecution demonstrated that Fuentes Flores regularly communicated in English in both his professional and personal life, and the judge ultimately denied the motion, ruling that his rights have been fully preserved. In January of 2022, rather than proceeding with a lengthy trial, Fuentes Flores agreed to a slow plea, a legal mechanism that allowed the prosecution to present its evidence to the judge while preserving his right to appeal. The judge found him guilty of first-degree murder and the special circumstances of rape and burglary, sentencing him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His subsequent appeal was denied in July of 2023. For Nancy's family, the resolution of the case brought a measure of justice, though the pain of her loss remains. Amanda and her daughter continue Nancy's legacy of horsemanship, riding her beloved horse, Montana, and drawing comfort from their shared faith and the memories of a woman who brought light to so many. The second investigation takes us to the mountain community of Summit County, Utah, near the town of Park City. This is an affluent area known for its ski resorts, scenic vistas, and close-knit neighborhoods. Here, we encounter another study in contrast, a case where the pursuit of wealth, status, and personal desire culminated in the calculated poisoning of a husband, followed by an audacious attempt to exploit the tragedy for personal gain. On March 4th, 2022, at approximately 3 o'clock in the morning, 33-year-old Kouri Richins called 911 to report that her husband, 39-year-old Eric Richins, was cold to the touch and not breathing in their bed. First responders arrived at the spacious family home in Utah, to find Eric on the floor of the bedroom. Despite the administration of cardiopulmonary resuscitation, he was pronounced dead at the scene. Initial observations by paramedics noted an unusual amount of blood coming from Eric's mouth during chest compressions, leading to early speculation that he may have suffered a brain aneurysm. Kouri told responding deputies that she and Eric had been celebrating a successful real estate transaction earlier that evening. She claimed she had prepared a mixed drink for Eric before going to sleep in one of their children's bedrooms to comfort a child experiencing night terrors. She stated that when she returned to their bedroom hours later, she found him unresponsive. Eric Richins was a highly respected member of the community. He was a dedicated father to their 3 young sons, a successful business owner who operated a stonemasonry company called C&E Masonry, and an active member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He was described as athletic, hardworking, and deeply devoted to his family. Kouri Richins had built a career as a real estate agent and home renovator, operating K. Richins Realty. She had grown up in the area, coming from a hardworking family that moved frequently. Kouri possessed a strong desire for upward mobility, dreaming of owning the luxurious homes she cleaned during her youth. Her business had expanded rapidly, and she was involved in numerous high-risk real estate ventures, including the pending purchase of an unfinished $2,900,000 mansion in Midway, Utah, which she intended to flip. The autopsy and toxicology reports shattered the narrative of a sudden natural death. The Utah State Medical Examiner determined that Eric's cause of death was acute fentanyl toxicity. The concentration of fentanyl in his system was over 5 times the lethal dosage, and crucially, it was determined to be illicitly manufactured rather than pharmaceutical grade. This finding immediately transformed the medical inquiry into a homicide investigation. Investigators from the Summit County Sheriff's Office, led eventually by Detective Jeff O'Driscoll, faced the task of tracing the origin of the lethal substance. As investigators dug deeper, they discovered that the couple's apparently perfect life was a facade hiding severe financial strain and marital discord. Eric's family immediately voiced their suspicions to law enforcement. They revealed that Eric had discovered in 2020 that Kouri had secretly taken out a $250,000 line of credit against their home, which was solely owned by Eric. This discovery had prompted Eric to consult a divorce attorney, and secretly alter his estate plans. Eric established a trust, naming his sister, Katie, as the trustee and executor, and designating his 3 sons as the primary beneficiaries. He also placed the family home into the trust, effectively ensuring that Kouri would not inherit the property or his business in the event of his death. This financial restructuring was kept secret from Kouri, though she was aware of the growing tension surrounding their finances. The tension erupted into public view just 2 days after Eric's death. Kouri, eager to locate Eric's will, hired a locksmith to drill open the safe in their home. Eric's sister, Amy, intervened, leading to a physical altercation during which Kouri allegedly assaulted Amy. Kouri was arrested and later pleaded no contest to assault charges. During this confrontation, Kouri learned that she had been largely excluded from Eric's estate. Despite this setback, she filed a civil lawsuit against Eric's sister, disputing the validity of the trust while attempting to maintain her public image. In an act of extraordinary psychological audacity, Kouri decided to write and self-publish a children's book about coping with grief titled, Are You With Me? The book, which she dedicated to her late husband, was written from the perspective of a child wondering if their deceased father was still present in their lives. Kouri went on local television and radio programs to promote the book, presenting herself as a grieving young widow, helping her children navigate their profound loss. Her public appearances drew widespread sympathy, which was abruptly disrupted when an anonymous email was sent to a local station asserting that she was responsible for her husband's death. Meanwhile, the criminal investigation was yielding critical evidence. A private investigator retained by the Richins family analyzed phone records and identified frequent communication between Kouri and a woman named Carmen Lauber. During the months surrounding Eric's death, Lauber was a local woman with a history of drug-related offenses who had previously worked for Kouri's cleaning and renovation business. Detective O'Driscoll focused his efforts on Lauber. A search of her trash and subsequent search of her residence uncovered drug paraphernalia, an illegal firearm, and, remarkably, a copy of Eric Richins' obituary taped to her mirror. Faced with substantial drug and weapon charges, Lauber agreed to cooperate with the prosecution. She revealed that Kouri had approached her on 2 occasions in early 2022, requesting that she procure strong pain medication, specifically fentanyl. Lauber stated that she purchased the pills from a local dealer, Robert Crozier, and delivered them to Kouri. According to Lauber, Kouri had complained that the first batch was not strong enough, prompting his second purchase of more potent pills shortly before Eric's death. Phone records corroborated this timeline, showing 30 text messages exchanged between Kouri and Lauber on Valentine's Day, 2022, and another series of communications on February 26th, days before the fatal overdose. Investigators also uncovered a pattern of behavior suggesting prior attempts on Eric's life. During a trip to Greece in 2019, Eric had become violently ill after drinking a beverage prepared by Kouri, prompting him to call his sister and express fear that his wife was attempting to poison him. More recently, on Valentine's Day 2022, Kouri had purchased a bagel sandwich for Eric. After taking a single bite, Eric suffered a severe reaction requiring the use of his son's epinephrine auto-injector and Benadryl. Before falling into a deep sleep, he texted a friend afterward, stating that he believed his wife had tried to poison him. The financial investigation revealed the extent of Kouri's desperation. She was facing over $4,500,000 in debt to more than 20 different lenders. Her real estate business was collapsing, and she had recently lost the Midway mansion to foreclosure. Furthermore, her financial desperation had led her to exploit her close friend, Chelsea Barney, by taking $45,000 as a down payment for a home purchase, only to fail to file the deed properly, resulting in the foreclosure of the home and the eviction of Barney's family. Another family, the Wrights, had filed a lawsuit against Kouri for selling them a home with severe, undisclosed mold and water damage that caused systemic illness in their family. In May of 2023, Kouri Richins was arrested and charged with aggravated murder and possession of controlled substances with intent to distribute. She was held without bail in the Summit County Jail. While in custody, a search of her cell uncovered a handwritten 4-page document referred to as the Walk the Dog letter. The letter, addressed to her mother, instructed her to tell Kouri's brother to testify falsely that Eric had obtained pain pills and fentanyl from Mexico. The prosecution argued this was clear evidence of witness tampering. Kouri's defense team countered that the letter was part of a fictional manuscript she was writing. The investigation took another dramatic turn when investigators identified a second motive, a secret relationship. Authorities learned that Kouri had been engaging in a years-long extramarital affair with a handyman named Josh Grossman. Text messages between the two revealed that Kouri had expressed a strong desire to escape her marriage, writing to Grossman that life would be perfect if her husband could just go away. She had also texted Grossman less than 48 hours before Eric's death, asking him to hang in until Friday, promising that life will be different. In May of 2024, following a change in her defense counsel, due to a conflict of interest, Kouri released an audio recording maintaining her innocence, claiming she had always protected Eric and would never harm him. However, the prosecution amended the charges to include attempted murder for the Valentine's Day bagel incident, along with multiple counts of insurance fraud, alleging she had taken out life insurance policies on Eric without his knowledge. The trial commenced in Summit County, Utah, before an 8-member jury. The prosecution, led by Brad Bloodworth, presented a comprehensive case detailing Kouri's massive financial debt, her secret affair, the testimony of Carmen Lauber, and the incriminating digital evidence. A particularly emotional moment occurred when Josh Grossman took the stand. He testified about their relationship, his genuine feelings for her, and a chilling conversation that occurred after Eric's death, during which Kouri had asked him if he had ever killed anyone during his military service and how it made him feel. In a highly unusual legal maneuver, the defense team, led by Kathy Nestor and Wendy Lewis, chose to rest their case without presenting any witnesses or calling Kouri to testify, gambling that the prosecution had failed to meet the high burden of proof required for conviction. The strategy did not succeed. After deliberating for less than 3 hours, the jury returned a verdict of guilty on all counts, including aggravated murder and attempted murder. Kouri Richins' sentencing was scheduled for May 13th, a date that would have been Eric's 44th birthday. She faces up to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Her 3 sons have since been adopted by Eric's sister, ensuring they are raised in a stable, loving environment. These 2 investigations, though distinct in their details, offer profound insights into the nature of criminal behavior. In both instances, the perpetrators believed they could exploit the trust of those closest to them, relying on elaborate deceptions to conceal their actions. Yet, the dedication of law enforcement, the strategic application of modern forensic science, and a steadfast commitment to the truth ultimately pierced these facades, securing justice for Nancy Woodrum and Eric Richins, and offering a sobering reminder of the enduring power of accountability. The Faces of Deception, a comparative analysis of criminal psychology and the pursuit of justice. The human mind possesses an extraordinary capacity for compartmentalization, allowing individuals to maintain a veneer of warmth, respectability, and care, while harboring dark and destructive impulses. In the annals of modern criminal justice, few cases illustrate this duality more vividly than the tragedies of Eric Richins in Summit County, Utah, and Nancy Woodrum in Paso Robles, California. On the surface, these two cases are separated by geography, social, contexts, and the methods of the perpetrators. Yet, when analyzed